Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's our 2025 Subaru Forester. And we've owned it for over 7 months, putting over 3,500 miles, and in that time, there are quite a few very important, very relevant things that I've learned about it. If you are new to Subarus, or you are considering the new generation Subaru Forester, I think you're going to want to know what's on this list of the biggest things that I did not realize before purchasing this. I have owned Subarus now since 2019, so a few of the things on this list might be similar carryovers to other Subarus. A few of them are brand new to this brand new generation though. And if you get anything out of this video, if you are considering buying one of these or you think you might be down the road, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, let's get into the 5 biggest things that I've learned about the 2025 and newer Subaru Forester. The first thing worth mentioning is how this does on miles per gallon. Our example, it's rated for 27 city, 33 on the highway, so an average combined rating of about 30. If you do want a wilderness trim level, it's going to be a little bit worse. If you don't drive this in perfect conditions, it could potentially be a lot worse. So when I drive this vehicle around town, I can get in the mid-upper 20s. At interstate speed, it does actually do pretty good. Even at 80 miles per hour, it can get up to 30 miles per gallon. But the way my wife drives this, where her trips are shorter than mine, she doesn't have to travel as far, so more energy is lost to warming up the vehicle, warming up the engine, and a higher percentage of idle time. Oftentimes when I fill this car up, if she has been the primary driver for the tank of gas, it's showing about 19.8. That's around town, over maybe 200 miles or so between fill-ups about once a month. So just know MPG is not stellar. Even if you are considering the Forester Hybrid, which has now been revealed to be about 35 miles per gallon combined, that's only a combined rating of about 5 more mpg than the regular one. So keep that in mind. Even the Hybrid Forester probably is not going to be stellar, and hybrid Foresters, or hybrids in general, do really good around town, not so much at interstate speed, because the smaller electric batteries and motors just can't compensate for the physics of driving fast and sustaining that. I know firsthand, based off of my RAV4, my RAV4 Hybrid does not do fantastic on interstate speed, and honestly doesn't do a whole lot better than this. But just know, if you don't drive in ideal conditions, you might be getting only 20 miles per gallon around town. So while your MPG might not be stellar, it's likely going to be a lot better than the average midsize or full-size truck. And if you just need a vehicle to get you to the trailhead, to get you to the fishing hole, or just to have adventures with, Subarus and Foresters are fantastic options, and you don't have to settle for driving a bigger, heavier vehicle than what you need. But what you do need to be careful of, for number 2, is the tires. With symmetrical all-wheel drive, or quite frankly any all-wheel drive system, you do have to be careful that if you have a punctured tire and you get that tire replaced, it's likely going to have to be shaved down to be the same diameter, the same tread as the other tires. You can't just throw any old set of mix-match tires on this, like you can have a different set on a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive car between the front and the rear. Probably even a 4x4, although that is not recommended. None of that is recommended. But you can get away with it, but you can't on a Subaru. The diameter has to be very, very similar between all 4 wheels. So if you ever are in a situation where you have to throw the spare tire on, that's not a long-term fix. Even if it is a full-size spare, you do need to take it to a shop that can shave it down. Otherwise, you might be in a situation where you have to get all new tires. But honestly, guys, I've driven over 100,000 miles in Subarus. I've never had a flat tire. Even the factory Geolander all seasons on this are pretty decent. And my Geolanders on the old Wilderness I used to have were fantastic. So it's probably not something you need to be worried about, but something you should be aware of. The third thing worth mentioning relates to the powertrain, and it's kind of a pro, kind of a con. There's kind of a mixed match of feelings and emotions here. First of all, the engine. Very reliable. Subaru constantly refines this and they tweak stuff to make it better and better. It's easy to work on, it's easy to maintain. It's very open. There's not a bunch of junky plastics. You can tell that this was actually designed well. There's not a bunch of wire harnesses and just junk laying around. You're not seeing zip ties everywhere. Everything is just put together really well. And with all that open space, you can see the TR580 transmission down there. But there's just a lot of easily accessible room to work on this. You can change your serpentine belt really easily. Your oil filter. I change our oil in all of our vehicles. It's so easy in the Subaru. I can do it in 20 minutes and probably save 50 bucks of expensive labor at the dealership or independent mechanic shops. But the engine is very well suited to this vehicle. Overall, I do like more power, of course. But one of the big upgrades for the 2025 and newer model year is there's no more thermal control valve in that plenum space right there. Subaru knows that some of those had failures, so they warrantied out those parts on the older generation, and they got rid of that on this newer generation, giving it back an old school thermostat for the coolant and controlling temperatures. But the thing that I don't necessarily love about this kind of relates to the CVT transmission. Not that it's a bad one, and in fact, Subaru makes just about the best one, maybe besides Toyota. I've never had a failure problem. I honestly hardly hear about any failures on the forums compared to other brands anyways. I think that this CVT that's chain driven is more reliable than probably the average transmission these days, if we're being honest, compared to how many other vehicles and Chevy trucks and Ford trucks and so many other plants are having issues with their transmissions. But my gripe with it is it's expensive to replace. This CVT costs like 10 grand. Don't ask me how, I have no idea why it costs that much. Hopefully that becomes a cheaper part, maybe 3-4 grand down the road where it should be. But that's why we buy an extended warranty on ours. Honestly, say you even buy an extended warranty for 2 grand, 5 people do that. I don't think that Subaru is going to be having to replace more than 1 out of 5 CVTs, probably way fewer than that. The warranty companies always make money. That's how they stay in business, and that's how they thrive. So the chances of your transmission going out is very small. But the problem is, if it does go out outside of warranty, it could be a very expensive repair. You're not able to rebuild them, not really anyways. You don't necessarily want to risk a junkyard one. So to front the bill for a brand new one, if your vehicle is maybe 8-9 years old and you get a $10,000 transmission bill, that could financially total out your vehicle, making it just a parts car, and that would be really sad to see. So keep in mind, an extended warranty potentially might be a good deal for you, but otherwise it's probably not something you're going to have to worry about, so don't think about it too much. The fourth thing worth mentioning, and to kind of make up for the last point, is these are extremely comfortable, extremely capable, just all around fantastic daily drivers. For us, this replaced a Chevy Cruze. It replaced a small-ish little sedan that was starting to age, and this, compared to that, is so much more useful. I know a lot of you guys comment below that you sold your WRX, you sold your Coupe, you sold other little vehicles to get your Foresters, maybe your family grew, and you were thrilled about it just like we were, because this vehicle does so many things well. It's easy to get in and out of it. You can store a lot of stuff with about 30 cubic feet behind the second row. It has roof rails. You can even tow small things if you have to, about 1,500 pounds in our configuration, more if it's a wilderness. But it just does so many things well. They're extremely safe. They take care of you and your family if you take care of it and you maintain it well. Heck, just check out how good the cruise control and how good the lane keep assist is on this vehicle. The Gen 4 EyeSight system is no joke. For a car that costs not much more than 30 grand, and driving all the CUVs that I've driven, Subaru's EyeSight system is basically the best. Maybe not as good as Tesla, but that's a much more expensive vehicle. Overall, these just offer a lot. They're kind of the whole package, just like what you look for in a relationship. When you're in a relationship with your Subaru Forester, and don't make this weird, but it's a really good car, and you're gonna probably find that there's not many faults it has. The main thing people say is, I wish it had more power, and yeah, that might be true, but honestly, for most of us, this is enough, and I'm okay with that. And then the fifth and final thing worth mentioning is, how does the regular Forester compare to the hybrids that should start showing up at your local dealership in April, or compared to the Forester Wilderness, the real ones, not this funny one that I made that was basically just a very modded, lifted one. But how does it compare to those trim levels that are going to be coming out in the next few months? Honestly, I don't know. The base model of this is quite good at 30 grand. I suspect that the hybrids, the 3 or 4 trim levels offered in that, are going to cost probably about $3,000 more than a regular non-hybrid version. That's basically what the difference in powertrain costs on the Toyotas. And I think because Toyota owns a 20% stake in Subaru, it's probably going to be a pretty similar price jump. I was personally expecting a little bit more than 35 mpg combined, so that's kind of disappointing. I guess we'll see what the actual city and highway rated mileage is pretty soon. But for 3 grand, it takes a long time to make up the gas difference. Also, all you have is basically a worthless fix-a-flat kit. You don't have an actual even temporary spare tire like what these come with. And furthermore, the new Forester Wilderness, it doesn't have a full-size spare tire anymore. You can pay more for one. You can make it fit if you want to take your stuff out of the wheel well. But otherwise, it's going to be the same thing as this, just a temporary spare, which is kind of sad. So honestly, I think the base Forester is a really good value. I think the lower trim levels, like the premium, like the limited, like the sport, are a fantastic value for what you're getting. Ours is MSRP was I think about 35 with all the options, and it's a fantastic vehicle. I don't know that I would want to pay much more for one of these cars just because that starts to lose a little bit of the value proposition that the lower trim levels have. But hey, that's just my opinion. That's just my thought. I think if you are going to want a wilderness, you might want to build one yourself. If you want to wait for the official one, for the official badges, for the final drive ratio that's been upgraded, you could always buy that one at the end of the year. But honestly, the lower trim levels, the regular non-hybrids, are a pretty good bargain. Anyways, guys, these are just my thoughts and my opinions. My ownership of Subarus for the last 5 or 6 years has been a good one. I've owned 3 of the most popular models. This Forester, I think, is going to be no exception. We bought a 10-year warranty to keep this as the family car for a long time because this is a fantastic car. Foresters keep getting better and better. Subaru keeps refining their vehicles and making them better overall. Of course, they sometimes do things that we don't necessarily like, especially if you're a car enthusiast wanting something unique and different. But in general, Subaru, they sell to the masses. They make safe, reliable, competent vehicles that do a lot of things well. And this is a fantastic option. So anyways, I want to know your thoughts, your opinions. Comment below, subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for watching until the end. Until next time, see you guys.